things like that, which last time I was unable. So it's improving. I think I'm learning a little bit, but I can see that there are a couple of glitches still. So I'm going to try and fix it. I have a lot of classes immediately after this one, so I might not be able to attend to it right away. So please just take the quiz the way it is. And if there are problems to it, I will make sure that I fix whatever there is and give you a grade accordingly if I don't have the chance to change the entire quiz, because a lot of you have already taken it in the other class as well, in the other group. So don't worry. And I won't let the machine count the points for you. I will do it myself too. And thank you for your patience. This, as I said, it's all brand new, and in my browser it shows very differently than the way it shows with you. So I'm still trying to figure out all that and ask our IT manager. So apologies for that, and thank you again for all your patience. So anyway, a lot of you haven't taken it yet, so we're going to review. And actually, I think something happened because the quiz wasn't supposed to open till right after this class, so you're not supposed to take it until after. But of course, if you're ready and you want to, it's not an issue. It starts just a little bit earlier so that the yellow team that actually had their class last night has time to take it. I'm also going to try and figure out a better system for that. So anyway, we're going to continue our plan today, our review as we had agreed to do, and we have the likes and dislikes to practice as well. And we're going to start with this little assignment that you guys had. So for those of you who were able to watch our pre-recorded video, we had actually asked you to write down some sentences in Tibetan to translate them. So we're going to start doing that. So if there's any volunteers, or first, if there's any question, and then there's any volunteers, then please go ahead. Oh, great. Okay, wow, we have a lot of hands. So we have Tamcho Rinchen, we have Anandala, Sula, Leongla, Eleanorla, and Sophila. Great. Of all of you, is anyone who has a question that doesn't pertain to raising your hand to do the actual exercise? Is there something other? If you do, then please just unmute your button and you can say it to us directly.
I do have a question about maybe it's the moment about putting an adjective between the two syllables of a compound verb, like the nishor.
Putting, I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Putting what between the two syllables?
An adjective.
Oh, yes.
So would this be a good moment to ask that question, or maybe later?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And actually in the sentences, it might come too, so then we'll have more room to talk about it. No, thank you. So basically, sorry, I'm just trying to open my file. Okay, so the short question, the short answer is that whenever you have a verb like that, like nishor, like lobjonche, kalasa, kalaso, anyway, there's a infinity number of verbs that are created with the help of a noun. Then the adjective or the adverb, in that case, usually it's an adverb, it comes between the two. So ni mampo, well, ni mampo shor, ni yakpo shor, ni kyopo shor, maybe we should say, right? Something I'm trying to think of something that makes sense. Laso, je konso di hakogi yo mare nge sampalatering malam di do yenayang di yakpo ta ninjebo ta sama di sacha di la lugire. Yes, Gela is saying he's actually giving a little bit of extra information. I said I don't want to get into that now, but Gela is saying there's another. So what I just mentioned, that's the place of the adjective or the adverb in the sentence. And again, I was just giving another way of making adverbs, but that's just something we'll see later on, like yakpoche or gyokpoche. But anyway, that's not pertaining to this subject yet. So lobjong mampoche, kala shimbo sa, like that. So it really has to come in between the two. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah. So in this case, for example, with ni shor, it would be ni kalekakpo shor, kitu.
Exactly, it's between the ni and the shor. Yes, that's correct. Ragen.
이 갑라 신디야 이 정말 자식가 아니 제대 인지 고 그랬나 이 깔래 갖고 제네 쇼 아니 기고 제네 쇼 이거 이 다리 시다티 제와 요라 이마도 나 야산자 칼라 심보 사기요 이양 되기로
Well, Genla is saying here that yes, that is the place. He does really want to emphasize this che or chene, which we will see later on, which is a way to create adverbs based on adjectives. And he's saying due to the grammar of how the verb ni and shor, because actually ni is a verb also. So in the case of ni shor, we're in a bit of an exception to the rule that I'm talking about, because it's not the same when you say kala sa or lobjon che, where kala and lobjon are actually nouns. Ni is actually a verb, so ni and shod are actually two verbs, and that also happens, that when you have two verbs, it's the second one that is the actual verbalizer, and the adverb comes in between. But then when that is the case, Genla is saying that we have to create the adverb in a different way, saying che and chene. But anyway, don't worry about all that. That we'll talk much later on. But yes, just the short answer is yes. Okay.
Teacher.
Let's go. Any other questions before calling our volunteers? Okay, great. All right. So what would be the first sentence then? Genla ki tsigdrup tampo kareje. What is the first sentence that Genla gave us in the recording? Then we have tamche rinchen la sunrona.
So the first sentence was Insang nga shilok la drokime. This means these days I don't go outside. And the second, Insang nga la dekie. These days I stay. Insang nga la dekie.
Something is
Yes, something is missing, Tamchon Inchilla. So, Teinsang, and then you're missing a little word over there. But does anyone, we have Elin or La, would you like to tell us what that little thing is missing in there?
I don't know. He kind of broke up on me. I couldn't really hear all of it. But I thought the second sentence was Tingsang Nang La Dekye Ye.
Exactly. So Damcho Rinchin La, did you hear the Nang La?
Yes. Tingsang Nang La Dekye.
No worries. Tingsang Nang La Degiyo. Excellent. Very good. So can you retranslate one more time just in case you broke up and people didn't hear you?
Yes, thank you. These days I stay.
I stay, and then you. That's the part that you're missing.
Yeah. Nang la. Nang la means.
I've just put it in the. I've just put it in the. Sorry.
At home, nang la. Oh, less. At home. I stay home. These days I stay home.
That's right.
Thank
you. Right. Very good. Okay. Next sentence we have next in my list is Anandala Sunrona.
So, Tsigdrup Nipa Tanda Kong Songkang La Metok Karpo Mangpo Nyokidu.
And how do you translate that, Anandala?
Now he or she is buying a lot of white flowers in a shop.
Taktare. Exactly. Now, right now, in this moment, right, he or she is buying many white flowers at the shop, at the store. Laso. Before we continue, I actually want to modify these sentences a little bit to do practice. So I'm very happy we have a lot of hands that are being raised. So can somebody please transform this sentence into, we are not buying many, let's say, beautiful flowers instead of carpo. We are now not buying many beautiful flowers. So any volunteers? Or Genla, can you please call on somebody?
Liungla, Sungronang. Liungla.
Hi, it's Leong. Okay. Tanda ngancho chungkang la mito ni chempo new ki minduk.
Meto, can you repeat the adjective after meto, please?
Okay. Tanda ngancho chungkang la mito Ningchempo. Ningchempo?
Ningjepo.
Ningjepo. Nyoki Minduk.
Okay, thank you. Can somebody please, there's a little mistake in that sentence. Leonla, that's pretty good. There's just something that needs to change. Can somebody correct that, please?
Sula, Sungronang. Sula.
Yeah,
This is
I think it's like me.
Just me or something else. Can you say the whole verb?
Tanda nganju 강조 nganju
콩도 고면 신기하다.
총강 라메도 닌제포 뇨기 me.
Ale, pea po gnocchi mera. So Leonla, we are talking about dak nganzo.
Okay.
Therefore, we have to say gime, ra?
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. You're welcome. Excellent, excellent. Modification of the first sentence. So instead of saying these days I don't go out, these days I stay at home, how about turning that into a question? These days, do you stay inside? These days, why don't you go outside? Why do you stay at home? Can somebody please translate that?
Okay. Oh yeah, Telila, Sungronang.
La, is it me?
Yes.
La,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, so the first sentence, 탱상 키랑 탱상 키랑. So wait, why do you not go outside these days?
That's right.
Okay, this is gonna be hard. 탱상 키랑 지룩 라. No, wait. 탱상, yeah, maybe 키랑 지룩 라 가르치네 droki 옆에.
땡상 계랑
키랑 지룩 라 maybe 가르치네 droki 옆에 or droki 옆에.
So it was, why don't you go outside these days?
droki me or droki me.
Exactly. Drogime. Very good. With the question, it's not necessary to add a question particle. So that is correct. Drogime. Peapo. Tensang kirang kilola kare drogime. Tensang. And then why do you stay home these days? That was the second part of it.
Oh, from which?
Sophia la, Sungonang, Sophia la.
La, again la. Kari Jene, Tengsang, Kerang, Nang la, Kerang Nang la, Duki, Duki. Why do you stay? Can you repeat the English?
Yeah, of course. Why do you stay home these days?
Why do you stay home? Oh, Kari Jene, Tengsang, Kerang, Nang la, Duki, Duki, Yue.
딱다래, 소피라. 가래체네 덴상 계랑 낭라 대기 유. 빼야포. Excellent. 주지체. Lasso.
Okay.
So now let's.
Here I just heard from Sophia. Since Sophia used naro. We have present tense. Actually, we have naro, right? That was grammatically absolutely correct, Sophia la. We have sa da 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 naro de da de. But here Cynthia wrote how sa da 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 de. So this is why in colloquial we use de is more common than the because in colloquial and in UK is without naro is more common. So 가르제네 팅상체랑 낭라떼기. Also, this is a very good one you use in the past tense. Also, we can use de. This is actually past tense form of the de. De is present, de is past, but we can use for all three tenses. So you can just keep this de, and then you can use all three tenses. Also, very easy for you when you're talking. So there is, of course, fun grammatically. There is more common in spoken. So you can use all three tenses.
That's very important. And now that we dive into the past tense next week, we will definitely discuss these differences in the tenses and why certain ones are used even though they're not supposed to be there. So it just happens that in colloquial, speakers tend to use the past inflection of the verb de is really a past and de is supposed to be the present future. But somehow de has become kind of the place to go for every single tense. So this just happens a lot in conversation. So we will discuss that. Thank you for bringing it up. So now, can we have a volunteer to tell us the third sentence that Genla was giving us in the recording?
Okay. Nigla, Sungrona, the third sentence. Tiktuk Sumba, Labrona.
Lasso. Third sentence. Ngansu. Oh wait, sorry. Yeah. Ngansu shoke takbar nyamlen cheki me.
Oh,
exactly.
I could not hear if it was Nganso or Ngansu exactly.
Nganso.
Okay. And Inchikela Lapurebe.
Labna Digirebe. Inchikela. When you ask me, Inchikela Labna Digirebe. Will coming later, not Digirebe. Is it okay? I say in English. Inchikela Labna Digirebe. Is it okay? I say. Oh, that's a lot. Oh, Digdadig. Digdadig means of course. Yeah, Digdadig. Yeah.
Every morning we don't practice, or we don't practice every morning.
That's right. We don't practice every morning. Taktare, peapo. Tujiche. Oh, every day, every morning. Sorry. Very good. So, can somebody ask, when do you practice every day? When do you practice every day? Any volunteers for that?
Ngatso, can I try?
Yes, of course.
Ngatso shoke katsu ngatso shoke katsu nyamlen jekime.
So, Anandala, it's a question to why, when do you practice every day?
That's right. When do you exactly? Yes. Sorry.
Exactly.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Kirang shoke takpar katsu nyamlen cheki yepe.
Nyamlen cheki yepe. Okay. All right. I'm going to let somebody in the classroom comment on your sentence. Any volunteers to say whether this is right or wrong?
May I try?
Yes, please, Sophila.
Kerang shoge tapa kadut the kadut, yeah. Da shabudu sadu kadut. Kadut. Yeah. Nyamling teki yope. When do you practice?
Oh, Sophila, it's kadu, okay? You don't need to say kadut. There's no ta suffix. Kadu.
Kadu.
Yeah.
And then no need the pe at the back?
Exactly. No need pe. Taktare kadu, nyamlen chegi. Gela, you have something to say? Lasso. So, Anandala, there's one thing is that you are probably thinking of what time do you practice with Katsu, right? So let's actually let's teach you how to say that. That's a very useful. And learning to tell the time is coming in lesson 10, so you guys will learn that very soon. So it would be Kierang Shoke Takpar, and then you are right, this is the position of Katsu, but you have to add something. Do you know how to say the time from the watch?
Chu katsure.
Chu is part.
Is that right?
Chu is water.
Chu is water, which is part of the word, but you need tzu. Chu-tzu is the word for watch. So chu-tzu katsu nyamlen chegiyu. That's correct. That's at what time do you practice every morning?
Oh, yeah. Cynthia.
La.
Chu-tzu katsu la.
Yes, exactly. I have forgotten.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why? So Genla is correcting that I left the la out because I was typing quickly. So why? Chuju kadzila? Because in the answer, you're going to say chuju nipa la at the second hour, which is how, you know, when you're talking about hours, about the time in the day, you're using the ordinal numbers, and then you need the la, because one of the aspects of la is to show, in Tibetan it's called the tsekap, is the seventh case in the category of the 8 grammatical cases that we'll talk about one day. It represents really the time, the temporal aspect in which an action is being done. So that's why the la is important here. Anyway, that's coming lesson 10. So we have a little bit of time before that. Lazo, peapo. So then now I'd like a volunteer for, there was one last sentence.
Okay. xiao chang la.
Okay, I think there are two more sentences, but
Yeah, there are two more sentences.
so should I do
Yes.
the next one?
Shiba. Let's do the Shiba,
Okay,
the
Shiba.
fourth one.
Okay.
Yes,
Shiba.
you're right, Dr.
Okay.
Dr.
I'll do
Yes,
the
you're
fourth
right.
one. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Kerang imatakbal pergi shikiyebe.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. And how do you translate that?
Do you speak Tibetan every day?
Dr. Excellent. Do you speak Tibetan every day? Thank you. So then, again, let's use the word when. Can somebody ask, when do you speak Tibetan?
Micropla. Rona. Micropla is NU.
Konda.
Okay, Yomare.
Cheren Kadula perge shiki ye.
Kirang. Okay, Microvla, I see your logic. It's actually correct logic, but in usage, you don't need it. Kirang kadu peke shigiyu. Okay, so when you're asking about a time, then here it's at what time do you practice, then it's important. But if it's just when, then you don't need to use a la. Okay, but that was a really good try though.
Okay.
Thank you. So going back to Damchuk Yeltsin last question before, we could actually say this sentence in a different word order as well. So Damchuk Yeltsin, what we were talking about also applies in terms of question words. So you could also interrupt the peke and the she, which is actually the verb, and put the kadu in the middle. That is also something that can be done. So not just adverbs, but question words could also do that. Okay. Peyapo, so can somebody answer? Can someone give any answer to this in Tibetan?
Okay. Liungla Sindona. Liungla.
Oh, hi. Sorry. Okay. Ngang shoke dapat pergi sheki.
Oh, Dr. Ngashoke Tapa. Pergi sheki.
Excellent. And it's also true. The Shokpe Takpat. Peke Shegiyo. Excellent. Peyapo Tujiche. Lasso. Ke ra touche. Now, can we have a volunteer for the last question? The last, yeah, I think it was a question actually.
Okay, Illinola.
Yes. So I actually have a hard time saying the weekend, but Sanjuk la Kerang Kare Chekeye.
That's good. You said it properly. You said it really well, Eleonora. Sanjukla.
Do you want me to do the next one? The next sentence?
Yes. Yes, please.
Nga hil chekeye.
That's correct. This verb is always really, really difficult to pronounce. Genla, can you please model it for all of us a few more times, please?
Okay. Nga hulu chegiye. Nga hulu chegiye. Maybe 6 na sindiya na yakatuti. Nanti di gang la kita. Dine tis karsugore. Ani hulu chena ramna digi buti shu chimba cheda lau kumundu. Chedi kira wa. Ani tingmanyi do hulu kare lamna diksare. Tis kyopo do wa. Kyopo mena double chaira. This Yokotimani Labaina. Kalakaboshadamin.
Easy for you to say, Genla. Of course. So Genla is saying to please explain to you guys again how to actually pronounce this this sound properly. So you curl up your tongue, you touch the tip of your palate. And then the trick actually is that Genla is saying to say it fast, not necessarily that you have to say it super quickly, but what he means is that the la and the ha and the naro have to come simultaneously. If you try and say l, and then of course it doesn't work. So you have to really try and put it all together at once. So you just repeat it. You just say it twice. It takes a little bit of practice. So Genla is saying it's easy, and I'm laughing, saying, you know, easier said than done. But all right, you just have to feel what is happening in your mouth as you say it. Okay, peyapo. And then what is the translation of these two sentences?
Do you want me to translate it, or do you want to choose somebody else?
Yes, Eleanor, you can try.
Oh, it says, on the weekends, what do you do? And I relax.
Excellent. That's right. On the weekends, what do you do? I relax. Very good. Okay. Instead of saying I relax, so can somebody say I do a lot of prostrations?
Micropla?
Nga chansal mangpo giye.
Nga chaksan mampo giye. Okay, let me write that down.
Micropla yangja sungrona.
Okay, I hope it's right. Nga chansal mangpo giye.
Oh, nga chak mangbo. What chak mangbo?
Oh, again, I wanted to ask a student to correct that. You heard Changsa. Oh, Genla heard you say I get married. Genla heard you say this, Microvla, Changsa Gya, which means to get married.
Not the weekend.
All right. So here, Chaksel Mambogiyo, I would like for someone to comment on this, please. Any
would you have to put in a che there? So not Chaksel Mambo Chekiyu?
Jack, thanks for bringing that up. I'm gonna let thank you for that question. That's an important question. I answered that question a couple of days ago. If somebody remembers the answer to that, can Yanla, can you answer Jakila's question, please?
What was the question?
That Jakila was saying, do we have to add a che? Nga chaksel mampo chegiyo.
Well, my idea was to put the mangpo between the chak and the tsel. So nga chak mampo tselgi ye.
That's correct. And why?
Yeah, because chak is the honorific for hands and tsel is the actual verb. So
that's right.
Yeah, the adverb should be in between.
That's right. Thank you so much. So Jakila, because tsel it's actually a verb, then you don't need a che in there, right? So that would be the explanation. And I'm sure I was saying, and maybe it was to the other group, I don't remember, but I was saying that this is a very, very common misinterpretation that a lot of us who learn this kind of vocabulary, maybe in Dharma centers and all of that, do, thinking that chak tsel actually means a prostration as a noun, and then we tend to want to add che, like to do, to perform that chak tsel, right? But in Tibetan, the tsel is the act of actually prostrating, and chak just means, like Yanla is saying, the hands honorific. So yeah, thank you for clarifying that. That's an important thing to discuss.
Thank you.
Of course.
I didn't realize. I thought that the verb had to have the chak with it. I thought sell was a different verb, and the chak turned it into a prostration. But now I understand you're saying that sell by itself means to prostrate.
That's correct.
Exactly.
착과 착다가란 명직 차도 프로스트레이션과 아니 찰되기 이 워벌라이저도 또 자와 수요사게요.
Genla is just saying that here it's the same thing as when we have the other verbs like lobjonche, right? Sal here becomes the verbalizer of chak sal. So that's what gives us really the hint that it is the verb itself, right? Is that right, Genla? I missed something of what you said. If I didn't translate everything, what did you say something else that I didn't hear?
다가랑데. So chak is the just prostration. It can be noun, and sal is the manbo. It's turned into like a verb. Is like a kind of like a verbalizer. So chak sel. So any verbs when you see in the two, and then like chak sel. There are some other words like any two syllables. Always last one always can be the main verb.
Like in gya here, like in this example, changsa gya, for example, Genla, right? Here.
Yeah, here we see the three syllables. When in the vocabulary, if you see only two syllables, like chak, sel, what we have. So any two or two syllables, always the last one can be the main verb.
Oh yeah, like ni shor, exactly. Like in ni cook and ni shor, right? In this one is the same.
Ni cook, ni shor. So when we pronounce this, always we say we never pronounce saksel. In the report we talked a lot. If you say nouns and the adjectives, you have to pronounce together, suppose like color is a noun, right? You have to pronounce together, just color, without break between ka and la. And for the verb, if you see two syllables, you have to break cha and tel. Cha, tel. Okay? And then between cha and tel, you can use adjectives like cha, mango, cha, mumu.
Exactly. So just to say a quick word, because we are throwing these sometimes these linguistic terms and we haven't explained. So for example, when you see a verb like chansa gya, there's this gya or lobjong che, as in the che there. These we are calling verbalizers so that we distinguish the verbs. As you're seeing now, as we told you before with Tamcho and Gyatsan's question, ni cook and ni shor are verbs that are comprised of actually two verbs in one. But then chansa gya, which means changsa, is actually the place where you drink chang. And gyat means to do something. So that is to get married. It's kind of a funny word. So changsa is actually a noun and gyak is the verbalizer. So to distinguish between these kinds of verbs that are constructed in a slightly different way, then we use the term verbalizer just to show that what comes before is going to be a noun. And there's going to be a long list of a lot of different verbalizers that we will learn in the context of lesson 11. So just after our 4-day break in July, that is in the syllabus, that is what will come next. So we will study this very soon. But just so that you understand why Genla and I mentioned these word verbalizer, this is what we are meaning by that. Lasso. So I think I am done with this review, Genla. So now can we do your practice of the Gabuyo and Gabume, please, for the rest of the next 20 minutes?
Oh, Lasso.
And I will share this whiteboard with you.
Okay, first we do a little bit practice for the vocabularies. Okay, from lesson 5. Okay, first someone can tell us.
We have, I'm sorry, Genla, we have 3 hands that are raised. So we have Microfla, We have Tamchoy Gyatsen, Nicholas La, Sophie La. Is anyone asking a question or you're just trying to volunteer? Can you unmute yourself if you have a question for us?
Oh, can I just quickly, Genla, your microphone isn't fully plugged in. Your microphone isn't fully plugged in. We can't really hear you. Not as well as we could last time.
You're talking about Genchugila.
Yeah.
Oh, laso. Genla, kirang ki microphone di yapotogi Mendoza te kirang di connect yapoche chibembe.
Oh, cheba inda kogi tuwe.
야포시라 거기 있어보 전에 거기 민도
하고만 가르쳐.
It's a little bit better now.
단다 간대도.
단다야 보도.
Yes, now it's better.
투지체 그랬라.
Laso. Okay, so I think the hands raised were volunteers. So then I'll call on your volunteers, Genla. So please carry on.
Laso. Let's do suppose like how to say I like tea.
Okay, so we have Nicholas La.
Na cha la kaboyo.
Oh, taktar. Nga cha la kaboyo. So this Latin is very important. I want someone tell I don't like Tibetan tea, butter tea, chon tea.
Okay, I don't like churn tea, Tibetan tea. So next in my list is going to be Stephen La.
Richa La Kapome.
Oh, taktar.
Podo.
Okay, let's see. Okay, let's say bridge. With Kerang, can you sentence mega with Kerang?
Okay. So we have Tamcho Gyatsen La.
Kirang balik la gaboyo.
Kirang la gaboyo. So you're talking about Shen.
Kirang balik la gaboyo be.
Oh yeah, this is question. Just statement.
Kirang balik la gaboyo re.
Oh, Kerang balik la gaboyo re. What is the difference of Kerang balik la gabotuk and Kerang balik la gaboyo re? Tamjela.
Excellent.
I think this part is really important. Tuk and yore.
The yore, I would use yore if I know my friend that this person always likes bread. But if it's the first time that I see that this person is eating bread and he or she's having a really good time, then I would say tuk.
Oh,
exactly. That's actually perfect explanation. That's how we should understand it. So let me pause for 1 second and add something to that. We did say it in the recording, so sorry if I'm repeating, but this is a very crucial point. And Genla last night with our other group really wanted me to say it again, emphasize it. So this is something to keep in mind from now onwards in your continuation of studying Tibetan. You should really keep this in mind as much as you can. When you are expressing a feeling or an emotion that belongs to Shen, you don't really have, we as a speaker don't really have a right or the knowledge to really discuss what another being is experiencing in the realm of emotional feeling, okay, or sensation, because that's Shen. We cannot control Shen, we don't know. Therefore, in the Tibetan language, in the language it is embedded itself that it's it's a sign of ignorance, arrogance, all of the bad things, to want to express what a person is actually going through. Therefore, there are different devices that are used to kind of say, well, I think this is the case, or maybe I heard that, or maybe the person said that. But you can never fully just state, he likes something, or she likes something, or whatever emotion is attached to that person. So here, we can say kong palep la gabo du only if you're in this immediate proximity with the person and you're seeing that the person is hanging out with you and really enjoying the bread that you have offered or something like that. And then you can really say it in the moment of speech because you're witnessing that. In that moment, you're discovering. Other than that, it should be a yore, because either you have been with that person having breakfast every day and you know that that person eats bread at every breakfast, so it's a habitual knowledge, or that the person told you. Yore always means those both things. So there's always a little bit of ambiguity. We don't know if it's a habitual knowledge or whether you just were told by the person, whether it's really an inferential knowledge. So that is super important to keep in mind with feelings and emotions when you're expressing what someone else is going through. The do is to be used with a lot of caution. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That's really the Tibetan worldview.
Yeah. Also because the tandanganzu di lain be benanganzu bena Cynthia ngani kirwa kezeshene ani tamjula phale la gabu yore be nge kezetirwa antine Cynthia ki ngala kezetir ani nge hakomason ani tamju phage khalasagi yore bena tamju khalasagi ngas tamju thi la chinrwa kerang tamju la kerang phale la gabu yobe ani tamju ki nga phale la gabu yo tine nge nezu dikine Cynthia la tamju la phale la gabu tu didi kala thandarang nge nezu di hakorwa thandarang nezu di sheba di diyang khechembore jidam mi ki thongba thandarang nezu di hakwa nganzu discover lagira yana found out di pe khechembore di chiksongro nang konzola.
So Genla is asking me to translate something for you that he thinks is really, really important and crucial. And it is definitely, I agree with Genla, Kelengyo. So just to continue that example, let's say that Genla and I are together having breakfast, discussing, and there's another person, there's maybe Tamchola, who's like over there in another corner of the room and having breakfast. And maybe Genla and I talk about whether Tamchola likes or dislikes palette, right, bread or whatever it is. And so if Genla asks me, hey, do you know if Tamchola likes bread? Then I say, well, I don't know. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, by using yore. Then if all of a sudden Genla stands up and goes near the table where Tamchola is and actually asks, hey, Tamchola, kirang palip la gabo yube. And then Tamchola says, nga palip la gabo gyu. Then Genla comes back. He just found out that information directly from the source and then comes back to me and sits down again and says, hey, you know what? Actually, he does. He just told me. So he will say to me, Tamcho palip la gabo du. And he says do because he just found out right this moment. So the do means that as well. That is just that information that has come to him very freshly and he's reporting it to me. So Genla really wants you to keep that example in mind, is this discovery aspect of do, which is very crucial, that a lot of times comes in more than just witnessing whatever a person is going through. It has to do more with the fact that you are in that particular moment realizing that bit of information and you're conveying it. So is that distinction clear? Does anyone have a question about that?
Yes, to follow up on that. Then after this story, the next day, if you are talking again with him about this friend, then in that situation, you have known this now for a day. Then in that situation, would you say again, he likes you say pakle la gapo yore in that situation?
Very good question, Nikla. Thank you a lot for bringing that up. And I think we might have discussed that also a little while back, but without such a clear example. So this is a perfect timing for that. So Genla, this is the question that you always get asked. So what do you answer to that? Because Kiran Pepara. So the next day, what would you say to me if I ask you the same question? I forgot about it. Then would you say do or would you say yore? Di konkitiwa dire.
Or tati re da nima kashe chimbai na ti yore lam na tigre. Kais na anzo ki ne tu ti ngasa ne ha kho tsarwa.
Ina yang que sí, la sodi ni machi ni sumjela. Ina yang que sí, ni ma tagaranje yang na sanin kerang yang ker. Du labgimbe yana kyone labgimare di lamsang yore labgimare.
Ale ti tis karsugure ti ting tangbo ki karsugure nezu di khozang da di di duk labna yakbutu namju nganzo ke pena nga phyo la chimbare nga ting tangbo phyo la chimbare ani phyo ki ne tang di zo nge ani phyo la khangri mangbutu rawa nga ting tangbo ki chorwa re tinde do duk labna yakbo yore ani chamre nganzo la the reported speech yora pena thamju phale la kabo yosa rawati yanko sebo shibo chato gre
Lasso. So what Genla is saying is that, so the first part of the answer was that yes, so usually if it's a few days later, then your initial do has become a yore, as you're saying, Nikla, because you already know, so it's become part of the makeup of your knowing, so it's a yore, it's no longer a do, you're not discovering anymore. So a few days later, you ask me that question and I'll tell you, oh, kon pale plakabo yore. Now, what I was really emphasizing, I was saying to Genla, yes, but I know that a lot of you always ask us this really interesting question. If it's the very same day, you have just found out a couple hours ago, and somebody asks you again, then what would be the correct answer? And so Genla is saying that usually this is really a perspective, right? But for a Tibetan mind, a Tibetan speaker, do is the finding out, the moment of discovery is right now, go in the present moment of awareness. This is a very important topic, do, right? So then if some time passes, even though it's not a whole lot of time, it depends on the speaker, obviously, how fresh that discovery is still in your mind. Maybe you want to still convey that sense of discovery. Otherwise, it's already a yore, because it's already been processed. You can think of it as like the do comes in and then you process it and then it comes out as a yore. That's just my interpretation. I'm trying to understand all of that beauty with these verbs, right? So Genla is also saying, which he's told us before also, and we have to wait for lesson 15 to come. So second part, end of July, probably that is coming, probably third week of July, is that with the reported speech, we're going to be able to actually convey those things with a lot more naturalness, and then you'll know when the information has changed a little bit, or when you want to say, well, actually, he told me that he likes this, and therefore you're putting it in the words in the person's mouth, and it's not so much you interpreting the situation anymore. So there's going to be different devices that we will learn to refine all that information. So yeah, thank you for this great question. All right,
okay.
So
yeah, mainly you just keep the do and your different is if you know that something information just very recently, and then you can keep is do. If it's been long time, you can use your and your mare. So this you can just keep.
All right, we have 5 minutes, so let's do a little bit more practice. We still have Sophila, Nikla, Yangla, Anandala, Eleanor last hands raised. So let's try and get all of you to say something if possible. So we can try.
Yeah, I think the Suduga and the Lopuk Suduga.
Mambudu, Sophie, Nick, Yan, Ananda.
Okay. So let's say Sophia, can you make a question with like and dislike? And then next student, please answer for that. Okay, this I think is good.
Yeah. Questions of like and dislike.
Yes.
Kerang berjar la couple year
Question.
Couple year pay.
Oh, doctor. Kerang berjar la couple year pay. Hola, so DJ la lopuk sutuga Cynthia la.
So now we have Anandala.
Hola, so Anandala.
Yeah.
Can you translate kerang berjar la kabo yobe? Inji ke la karere?
Indicate, do you like Tibetan tea?
Oh.
Yeah.
How do you give an answer? Maybe let's practice negation.
Nga percha la gabo me.
Nga percha la gabo me. Okay. Peyapo. This means?
I don't like Tibetan tea.
Oh, that's all. Now, Anandala, can you make a question with the Kong?
Kong percha yeah, Kong cha ngarma
the first part is right.
Ngarmo cha ngarmo capoeira.
Chiwasorona. Question.
Capoeira be.
Oh.
So
Yangja Songronang Anandala.
Yes. Kong Jangarmo Capoeira.
Okay. Can we have Nikla correct that sentence, please?
Kong Changamo La. It needs to be corrected. Does he like?
You actually already said it corrected, Nikla. You didn't realize it.
Oh, what did I do?
Can you repeat it?
I also heard.
Yeah. Can you just repeat it? You said it correctly.
Kong Changamo La Gapo Yorebe.
Yes. Anandala, you just missed the la. I'm sure you just forgot. It's okay.
I always mistake between putting the la to the object or the subject.
Yes, Anandala, you know what? I have found in all my years of teaching that most of my French students do that. You know why? I think it's because in France we learn Latin and we really learn all of these and also German, right? So the cases are really learned, and then we kind of I say we because I studied in the French system my whole life, so I have that kind of brain wired as well, where there's always that thing where we say, okay, is it to me that the liking is happening? So I have a feeling that there's just something in the way that we have learned languages in the French system that gives that issue. So it's a very important thing to actually understand. It's in Tibetan, actually Genla and I just recorded a video last night where we're talking about that. So you will watch it for day 2 of week number 3. This is where we're discussing it. Verbs of effect, as we call them in Tibetan, usually mark the object of that emotion with the la. So that is just one of the rules that comes from classical Tibetan. So if you kind of if we all practice those verbs, then we will just get used to the fact that the la always goes to the verb and not so much to the person that is having that emotion, to the verb, to the object, sorry. So yeah, that's something we will discuss. No worries.
I just wanted to add, I also had that problem with French, being a French speaker, but I think of it in, translated from Tibetan, as I have a liking for bread.
Yes.
And that helps me with getting the la in the right place.
Thank you, Jakila. That is very nice. That's actually what I usually try and tell students I have a liking for. Exactly. Thank you. But, you know, when we say I have a liking, then we also automatically think to say nga la ye, because that's how we say I have something. So that's maybe the having is the misleading part, where we think that the la has to follow the person that has that feeling. But that's just very normal. I want to say, and this is fresh because last night we recorded this video for you all, the position of la in a sentence is a really important topic that pervades the grammar. And that is something that I will probably say a lot of bits and pieces here and there, because there's a lot of different ways to interpret la, and to use it is one of the most widespread particles and that has the most usages as well. So just be patient with yourself. If you're feeling frustrated, oh, I don't know if I should use a la or not, and you're getting like that, it's completely normal. You will not know as a beginner at the end of this course always to feel really empowered as to when to use the la. It'll take a lot of time and practice to actually get a sense for that. So just be patient with yourselves. Okay, so before we say goodbye, we're already a little bit over time. Eleanor and Microfly, do you guys have a question, or would you like to do one last example, the both of you?
I just had a question, actually.
Lasso, Microfly,
yeah. The la dun, just to ask a really basic question, is that always just la, or does it have different forms?
Oh, thank you so much for asking. And no, so it has 7 different forms: su, ra, ru, tu, na, la, and tu. And we have seen in colloquial la and ra, all right? Ra is used when there is no suffix. Like here, changarmo, there's no suffix in the ngarmo. So you could say changarmor, even though, I'm saying that just as an example for the spelling, but we will also learn, and this is all based on the classical treatises, okay? In colloquial, everything is simplified, but in classical, this becomes, there are lengthened explanations as to why these things are happening. Now, whether we have these 7 latuns, but not all 7 of them are used in the same way, meaning there are many functions of the latun particle that are nominal and verbal. And being one of the most important particles, it is all pervasive, it's everywhere, you see it with a lot of different things. One of the things that we will study slowly in colloquial is that not all of them will apply to the same functions grammatically. So here, it might not be super common to hear people saying, Kongcha ngarmo gaboyure. I mean, maybe yes, but not entirely 100%. So yes, anyway, that's a very different topic we'll get into someday, hopefully. So the la and the ra would be the ones that are used the most commonly in colloquial, even though tu sometimes comes there. Like, for example, do you know how to say together?
No.
No? Nyamtu, exactly. So the tu in nyamtu is already a Latin, right? And so there are certain words that already kind of, we learned them with the Latin, and then there are 2 or one of the tus or one of the sus or the rus, and therefore they are used in the spoken colloquial Tibetan because they've just become part of the language. So anyway, this is a really interesting question, Microfly. Thanks for asking it, and a very, very deep topic of conversation. If you get me into these topics, then I'll never let you go because I'm fascinated about it and I can talk for hours. So let's continue some other time.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your questions. I hope that taking the quiz is not too frustrating. I hope it works out. We wish you a really good weekend, restful weekend. Next week, just to preview, we're going to be studying the future tense and the past tense and the present perfect. So hang in there. A lot of information is coming to you on the videos. You're going to receive a lot of handouts. And so just take it easy this weekend. Next week is going to be even more intensive. So I feel like the more we progress in the course, the more there's going to be intensity. So just pace yourselves. And I'm here. I'm available for any questions. If I don't reply right away, please don't get offended. It's because I'm teaching many other courses, as you know, and because of the time zone. But never hesitate. I'm very happy to see your questions in the communications team. So I'm really happy to see that you're all using that platform. So tujiche and Genla tujiche.
Oh, tujiche. Jayong.
Enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much.
Sure.
I have a question just about
yes.
I saw that you could not see my answers. I resubmitted it with a different file name, so maybe if you can see again. I don't know why, but I can see, but I don't know why you can't see it.
Lasso. Maybe I did mistake because I see, and then there's 2 files on the side, and then I just opened there, and then that is just empty. And then later on, I try to check other students. I also see 2 files, and then I try to check both, and then one of there's the answer, one is just my questions. So
Yeah,
let
I
me
put
check
my
again.
name at the end of the file, but maybe you can't see it. So I changed the file name, so now it says homework 2 or something. So maybe it's easier to see now.
라서
투지체.
Lasogena nye tatik me ka insana tuzu mamborak ma sonterin shoke yine cheka tatik chekai ani ogen la yube